Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Yeah. Can I make you groove now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in the back of a can. You can make it round the world and it holds in your hand. Popcorn world. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. That's that popcorn make you smile. Ah. Yeah. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. It's a popcorn world. The popcorn world.
You're now listening to BLEV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Ferndale Hall of Famer Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course Mama Noise's name, Lloyd Smith. And now, it's time for BLEV in the ACC.
You know, ever since this eclipse came, I've been hit with nothing but water here in the great state of Arkansas. It's raining. And it's raining dogs. Where did that come from? Where does that come from? It's raining cats and dogs. You might know.
Who knows? It's an older reference.
It's a what?
It's an older reference.
It is an older reference, and it's. I don't like it because I don't want cats or dogs falling from the sky. Neither one is a good thing.
Did you see that video of that cat falling off that building and just walking away?
No.
Yeah. The
Where
cat
was
was
that?
hanging off. Who knows? It was hanging off a deer life and fell off and then just walked away.
Because that's what cats do. Cats are a strange animal. They are resilient
Yes,
and
they are.
annoying, and they carry much attitude, much like the fan base of the University of Kentucky. So, see what I did there? See how I connected all the dots? Okay.
It's been a long week.
It has. A strange and long week. But we're here. Kenny Caskins right there. Charlie Ward is right there. He's got some reverb issues with his sound. He's gonna work it out. We trust Charlie. We trust him. So we're glad to be here with you on BLEV in the ACC. Shout out to Twitter, who is now joining us. We appreciate that. The good people of Twitter joining us on the broadcast. It's been a strange week, to say the least. And it's not even over yet. Because coaches are jumping ship. Listen, the dominoes are about to fall. Mr. Calipari tipped over the domino. Now all the other dominoes are going to be falling. It's about
Actually,
to be
the domino actually started following at SMU.
Technically, that's true. Because that was a weird jump to me. Andy Etfield leaving USC to go to SMU. Well, listen, if you know SMU from a financial perspective, it's not a weird jump because they got money out the wazoo. So I get that part. But it just seemed like a strange, USC's the SMU's a better job than USC now?
Well, I mean, I guess if you factor in financially,
it's a much better job.
No.
Cost of living.
So, Charlie?
Yeah, factor in cost of living, paying your assistant coaches, because I've heard that argument for years about coaching in California is that it's hard to pay your assistants because the cost of living is so high. And so, yeah, that's part of it. Plus, there's no state income tax in Texas.
Right. It's expensive.
And California
It's
is
expensive to live in
super
California.
expensive. And there's people leaving California left and right. So, yeah.
From that
You may not
perspective,
get
I
more.
think it is.
The
It's
check
better.
might be bigger in California, but
It don't
at the end
stretch
of
as
the
far.
day, it's not going to stretch as far.
Yeah. What do you think, Charlie?
I mean, of course, I mean, everybody always talks about finances,
Mm-hmm.
which is, something that we need for sure. But to me, I just think, relationships and happiness, um, you know, what is it called? Not the cost of living, or is just living in general,
Mental health. Yeah. You're
Uh,
talking mental health
yeah,
stuff.
I mean, all those are factors that I do believe should be factored in, because the money part, I mean, you can make it work as long as it's around in the same ballpark as far as what you're doing, from where you came from. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the mental health piece plays a big part,
It
because
does.
I mean, I was in that type of situation before as a coach, and I mean, I wasn't making the money, but the mental health part is what cost me. Um, you know, I said my life, but it cost me, my health.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that has to play a big part in some of these decisions, because a lot of times we always go towards, how much money someone is making or is going to make, as opposed to thinking about their mental health. Because if you're always having to look over your shoulder because you may not be um, holding up the expectations of somebody or your boss, um, that weighs on you. The stress part weighs on you, and so sometimes it's better to get a restart or refresh, to start that clock all over again.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because in addition to the Andy Edfield move and the Eric Musselman move from Arkansas to USC, that domino created the biggest domino we've seen so far, which was Sunday night. John Calipari said, "That's all I can stand. I can't stand no more," and he leaves Kentucky. But then it was like, well, but I mean, I'll stay if you want me to. But then they was like, nah, we good. And so he goes from Kentucky to Arkansas in the middle of an eclipse.
Well, he was going before the
It was
eclipse.
Arkansas, the big thump. See what I did there? See what I did there for your shirt there? The big thump. See what I did there?
So
it's been a crazy week. Go ahead, Charlie.
no, I was just saying, because I just heard that on talk radio the other day. This
Mm-hmm.
is, I don't know if it's true or not, but they were saying after the spring ball period in the SEC, um, like you, none of those players can transfer to another SEC team. And
Mm.
if that is true, I'm just, I'm all about
For
being fair,
basketball,
because that is what the student athletes have been talking about as far as
Mm-hmm.
being fair. Why can't coaches do it like in spring, like now? Um, and there are no rules and regulations around that part of it. Um, you know, you don't want someone that doesn't want to be somewhere, um, and so you're going to kind of let them move on. But if that is a rule for the players, then I think it should be a rule for the coaches or even administrators as well.
Okay.
well,
Go ahead.
in that situation though, I don't know. That's the first time I've heard that. But in that situation though, with coaches, I mean, when else are they going to leave for basketball? Because the basketball season just ended. And so, and then when else are they going to go?
Yeah.
But it's been a long week. It's been a long month since basketball season actually ended here, because with Kentucky getting knocked out in the first round, Louisville not making the tournament, and then IU not making the tournament,
going out early.
And women going out. And so it's been a long month with Kenny Payne getting fired, Pat Kelsey being hired, and then everything that started transpiring on Sunday when we first got wind that Calipari may be headed to Arkansas. I heard it like early in the day on Sunday, and I just kind of blew it off as more internet nonsense. And I just happened to just check my phone at like 10 o'clock on Sunday night. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really gaining traction. So I had to text my weekend guy. I was like, hey, yo, are you paying attention to this? And he was like, no. I was like, well, you need to, because I think this is real. And
it might be real, yeah.
Right. And so I ended up being up all night on Sunday night. And I think we pretty much got the confirmation at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning that it was going to happen. Well, then, so Monday comes and you don't really hear anything, but it was obviously because they didn't want to overshadow the national championship. And so Tuesday we get the video from Calipari thanking the Kentucky fans and everything, and basically saying goodbye. And then we get everything yesterday with the press conference in Fayetteville, and him not doing the Woo Pig Suey, which disappointed me. But
yeah, he's got to do that. Well, he probably doesn't have to do it. Listen,
every coach I've ever seen get introduced there. Yeah,
being a lifelong Arkansas guy, it takes some time to learn it. It's not an easy thing to do. Because you can really botch that thing up if you're not careful.
He's gone to Arkansas enough. He's got boys in Arkansas. That's how he ended up there in the first place. He knows how to do it. It ain't rocket science. It ain't rocket science. I don't think he does. He can learn how to do it on the flight from Lexington to Fayetteville. It's not that hard.
It's hard.
Pig suey.
That's not it. They would put you out of every restaurant with the pig suey you just did. So,
but you know what? Listen, I'm not the coach. And every coach I've ever seen introduced at Arkansas has done it. And so it was weird to me that he didn't do it.
Well, maybe that's why he didn't do it, because he was like, listen, none of them have won. So
he didn't do it because
we got the opportunity.
He didn't do it because it's goofy.
It's not goofy. It's tradition. It's tradition.
Some traditions are goofy.
Two things can be true. Listen, all jokes aside, I'm shocked by it. I was shocked when you text me, because I had been completely off the radar with it. I was working on some other stuff. And when you text me that night, I was like, yo, what are you talking about? Like, I hadn't heard any of this. And then immediately I went to the two or three sources that I know are solid. And they were like, yeah, this is real. And this is why it's happening. So shout out to Tyson's Food. And others.
Somebody called John Tyson the Chicken King.
He's a chicken train. So it's wild to think that this is really happening. And then how far is this going to reach is the real question, because immediately it looks like either, more likely it sounds like it's going to be Scott Drew that's going to get the job, although there are some Billy Donovan traction, but not a lot.
Man, look.
But you're in the state, kid. You can tell us if it's down. Are you leaning more toward Drew or Donovan?
I'm not considering Billy Donovan whatsoever.
Okay.
It sounds like from everything that we're seeing, we could get an announcement as early as today. It's most likely going to be Scott Drew.
Which, by the way, shout out to Scott Drew for igniting a rivalry early, because just weeks ago he told Louisville, I just don't think I want to do that. I'm committed to Baylor, and it's okay, and I'm here.
Yeah, part of that too, though,
mental health at Baylor is not as prevalent as he thought it was, because he's willing to jump to Kentucky.
Well, he's probably going to get 3 times the salary at Kentucky, and he's got a relationship, a past relationship friendship with Mitch Barnhart, the athletic director at Kentucky.
Who doesn't?
And so, right, and like I think Mitch has been wanting to hire Scott Drew for a long time. And so I think that's what plays into it, how they was able to get him and why he didn't go to Louisville. And and plus other factors too. I think he's a better fit in Lexington than he is in Louisville, to be honest with you.
I think so too.
And so, but like the Billy Donovan thing, I'm so sick of Billy Donovan being mentioned every time there's a coaching open, especially at this point when he's been out of the game, out of college basketball for about 10, 15 years now. And the college basketball landscape is vastly different from when he was there. So he'd have to learn all the NIL, the ins and outs of NIL, the ins and outs of the transfer portal. And he probably has to I'm sure he'd have to reestablish relationships as far as the recruiting trail and all that stuff. At his age, I don't see why he would want to do that. And then you go from the NBA where you're coaching adults to having to start recruiting 15 and 16-year-old kids again. I don't see why any professional coach would want to go back to college to begin with. So I never considered Billy Donovan as an actual candidate, especially when you're given the fact that they're still playing. They have the play-in tournament next week, and the clock is ticking as far as recruiting goes. I mean, Kentucky's already had Aduthiero, Onyenso, Dillingham declared for the draft yesterday, and two of their prize recruits that are supposed to come in this year have already decommitted. Most likely
transfer, but reopen recruitment again.
Reopen their recruitment, which we all pretty much know what that means. And then Zvonimir Ivicic, the 7-footer they got from Croatia, most likely he's leaving. He's going to leave too. So you've got to stop the leaks, and you got to get somebody in there now to be able to recruit. And plus, Scott Drew's got some guys too. He's already got some guys lined up. They're supposed to go to Baylor that may end up following him to Lexington. So I think it's a thing where you had to go ahead and hire somebody. I think Dan Hurley probably got the first call, and then it was to Scott Drew.
Yeah, I got to go back to Charlie for just a second because you mentioned mental health. That's Charlie leaves the screen. Well, I mentioned mental health, and
there you go.
I wonder if some of that maybe wasn't part of the departure with Cal, because he left $33 million on the table. Most people don't leave $33 million on the table.
Well, the contract he got at Arkansas, real quick, it's on the annual salary, just on the surface when you look at it, it's about $1 million less than it was at Kentucky. But with all the incentives, he's going to get he's basically the $1 million that Musselman had to pay Arkansas to leave is basically going to Cal. he's getting a retainer bonus and in a couple of weeks. So he's getting retainer bonus. So the salaries will basically even out at the end of the day. And so it wasn't that, but I sincerely say it was mental health reason why he left Kentucky. I mean, it's a stressful job, and the fans were getting very loud, and that seat was getting very hot. I thought next year was going to be the last year regardless, and so it just ended up happening a year early.
Charlie, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. Like I said, sometimes even $10 million is worth leaving on the table when you're making $20 million. As opposed to $30 million for your mental health, because if you can't enjoy it, then it's miserable anyway.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's important sometimes for us to stop looking at the salary of what someone is leaving on the table or making, as opposed to the mental health aspect, because that to me is worth a change. And we don't know. We kind of know in here, but when we see these types of moves made, sometimes you want to get the same or similar salary somewhere around in that area, ballpark. But for Coach Enfield, I don't know how tough it was, coaching LeBron James' son, and being in that environment, and the pressures of having to try to win or whatever the case may be. Because when you see these moves like this made, I just used his son as an example because I can only imagine having to try to coach that type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's, there's been some thought, and all you need sometimes when you're thinking about something, all you need is someone to come and knock on your door and say, would you listen? And as soon as you start listening to a situation that may be what you would consider favorable or comparable, then you're like, hey, I think I'm gonna move on. And I think Coach Enfield's move was very similar to that because sometimes you can't imagine leaving USC to go to SMU, but we do know that SMU is moving to the ACC next year,
Right.
which is is not a bad move for the basketball program.
Fantastic, yeah.
Because we think because we're associating SMU from where they were before, where conference they were in before.
Right.
And so SMU is a different basketball program now that they're moving to the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that wasn't a surprising move. He wouldn't have moved there if they were still in the conference they were currently in.
Right.
They were in, currently in.
Right.
So I think all these moves are, has to do a lot with the mental health aspect, because of just the stress that comes along with those types of jobs, which is stress everywhere. But you want to go where people want you to be, and
people
you
love
want to feel, some semblance of love
and support.
And we've talked about that somewhat.
Yeah.
We've talked about that somewhat on the show too, and it made me think about Charlie when the whole Hurley thing came up because around here, this is Kentucky. We get whoever we want. We'll just throw a whole bunch of money at them, and I'm like, have you watched Dan Hurley? That dude's happy, and happiness outweighs money every time. It should. And I mean, we've seen a lot of people sacrifice their happiness for money, and it ends up happening. And so I'm like, Dan Hurley's been around the block enough to know that money's not everything. That dude is UConn. I mean, he's going to be there. There was no way he was leaving that situation.
Yeah, I want to be very clear. We were trying to be clear last week to help the Kentucky fans. There's no way he was going to Kentucky. He would have to be a stone cold idiot to leave that. The peace that he probably has found in stores. He's winning despite his location. That location means nothing.
And UConn, I mean, if you look at it, UConn's had tons more success than Kentucky has over the last 30 years.
Way more. Not even close. Not even close.
So I was like, he's not going to leave.
He was never. That was never even.
The way the UConn community has embraced him, to see like Rip Hamilton and Ray Allen and all those guys coming back. You would have thought Hurley played at UConn when he was in college, and so I was like, he's not sacrificing his happy to get a few more $1 million. He's getting enough money. He's already had life-changing amounts of money anyway at UConn. So I mean,
I've said this on this show before, and I'll say it again. Sometimes you got to know when you've won. When you've won, your circumstances have created a win for you, and live in that circumstance and be at peace with it. You can get into a thing where you start chasing tomorrow. And tomorrow doesn't look any better than today. You just think that it does. Right. And so that's to me would have been him leaving to go to Kentucky. It's not a better tomorrow. That's a harder tomorrow. And it's an unnecessary stress that you don't even need. Like, bruh, you're winning national championships. You're fine.
Right. If the goal is to win and you're winning, why would you leave that winning situation?
Which to be honest with
when you've won, when you basically rebuilt your roster.
Which brings me back to Scott Drew. Like, I feel you, dog, with the relationship, but This ain't Baylor.
No, it is not.
It is not Baylor, and I'm sorry, but 19 wins, 22 wins, that ain't it. You go find out real quick. This is a whole different monster, and I feel you on the money. Money helps your family, and I just think sometimes I'm Charlie. I'm Team Charlie on this. That happiness is a monster, because man, when you can live in peace and happiness and joy, the money works itself out. It kind of works itself out, because then your expectations are different anyway. You never miss what you never had. So I don't know. Scott Drew, God bless you, man, if you take that job. But I don't know if I would leave Baylor to do that.
Scott Drew's had a bigger situation than what he's going into if he takes the Kentucky job. When he came to Baylor.
Right.
He took over a really, really tough situation and turned it into gold in a lot of ways. And so I think he has the confidence to know that he's capable of doing a similar thing at Kentucky, which is not in the same state. I guess not in the same state as he found Baylor. And when he got to Waco, so I guess he feels like this would be a great opportunity for him to be at a blue blood program, which Baylor to me is in that boat as well. I mean, he's won a national championship at Baylor before, so I guess he feels like this is a great opportunity for him, and he may need a change as well, because you're starting to see his program at Baylor kind of slide back into the pack, in a sense where they're not getting the different things. But the crazy part about it is, I mean, Texas and OU leaving. You're gaining some other programs coming through the Big 12, but I mean, you could still be one of the big dogs in the Big 12, even though U of H is there. My bad.
No, but again, I'm with you, Charlie. I listen. When you make a decision like this, the only thing I say to you is you better be right, because I personally think you already are a king, and with the shifting of college basketball, the shifting of college football, you could be even more of a king. It could just be you, Kansas and Houston battling out for the next 20 years. And so
there's something to be said though. There's something to be said though about winning at a school like Kentucky or Kansas or Duke or Carolina, those blue blood schools. And like I said, and like Charlie said, Baylor was kind of like drifting. I won't go as far as saying falling back. I'll say they kind of flatlined though. And so maybe a change of pace, maybe a change of scenery. And like I said, I think he's going to be. I think I think he's going to be a fantastic hire at Kentucky. I think he's a perfect hire for Kentucky.
But a flat line at Baylor probably means not much.
Yeah, but at the same time,
is a problem.
But maybe he wants that. He wants that pressure. He wants
that challenge. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean that's the challenge of it. That's the whole point of it. And so, I said, I think it's a knockout hire. I saw, because I'm dealing with a lot of the crazy fans, and they, for one, they was all going to hold Dan Hurley and Billy Donovan and Rick Pitino, and so I was like, they're not going to hire Rick Pitino either. And so, out of all the candidates, Scott Drew is by far the better candidate, without question. And a lot of them were talking about his early exits in the tournament and his record in the tournament and all that stuff. I'm like, it's because he built a program from literally nothing at Baylor with everything they had going on before he got there to where it is. They were under the gym. And so for them to come up and win a championship, and I saw people discrediting it all, it was the COVID championship. I'm like, title's a title. Like, You know,
right.
You still had to go through a 64 team field to get there.
Exactly.
And they beat
Exactly.
a really good Gonzaga team to do it. And so
Yep.
I think it's a home run hire for Kentucky. I understand why he took the job, because I mean, it is once in a lifetime that you're going to get offered that job. And so, and he's saying you've already got a good established relationship with your athletic director. And so I think it's a home run hire all around for everybody. And hopefully we get that closure in the next few hours. Because I'm tired of it.
It sounds like you just want to sleep. That's what that sounds like.
I'm tired of looking out and people have my sources, and you ain't never been to a press conference, and you ain't got no sources.
Right.
So I can't wait for it to be over with.
Well, speaking of things we can't wait to be over with, much like the song "Dueling Banjos," is that a song? That's the name of the song that the dueling.
Yeah.
Well, now we got dueling lawsuits. Florida State, Charlie's alma mater, has been granted the green light, I guess, to proceed with what they want to do in the state of Florida with their lawsuit. And so it looks like while one lawsuit, the one in well, let me re-establish what I'm saying. The Florida State lawsuit will be stopping for a minute, I guess. The one in Tallahassee, whereas the North Carolina one will continue. I think is how it's working. So we got two different lawsuits at two different stages doing two different things. And basically, all of this is to say, ESPN, can you just help us out here? What are you talking about? So, Charlie, what is your semblance of thought as it relates to all of this nonsense? I just wanted to hit it real quick because I knew it was a thing, but what is your sense of understanding as to any of this is going on?
I don't know. I mean, it's all. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean,
yeah,
nothing has really changed besides to talk about it. Everybody's trying to get out of the grant of rights, or how much money they're going to have to pay to get to exit, or have an opportunity to exit.
Is it just a strategy as to one trying to scare the other one to back off? Or to at least come to the table so we can have a real conversation?
I don't know if it's trying to scare or whatever the case may be. I just think it's a waste of money.
It is that for sure.
We're here trying to build we're here in Tallahassee trying to build a youth sports and wellness facility, and they spending all this money on trying to move or trying to do something, which I understand 100%.
Yeah,
I just see it as a bunch of waste of money. And the student athletes, of course, they're probably sitting there like, oh, I understand. Hey, there's a lot of money being wasted.
Yeah.
I don't say wasted, but being used. But I understand it because, when you talk about dollars and cents and being way behind other programs that you're going to be competing against. I mean, if they had an opportunity to, ACC had an opportunity to do something different as far as money allocation, as well as get more from TV revenues, then this would be a non-issue.
Right.
But the situation that they're in, 2037. I mean, that's like they have no wiggle room. And so the only way they had to go about doing this is the way they're going about doing it. So,
well,
it is what it is.
Yeah. It is. Like I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Get
it's a wild situation, Charlie. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It's the delay. It's a wild situation, Charlie, and I don't know where. I don't know what it's a game. It's a weird game of chicken, and you're like, well, somebody at some point. I mean, this is a waste of time because you're both going to have to stop and sit down and have a conversation. Like, you can't even fake like you're going to crash because even if you crash, you haven't achieved anything. You got to get at the end of the day, you're going to have to sit down and have a conversation. That's the bottom line. And somehow you're gonna have to figure out how to get ESPN to the table. That's really the problem.
Right.
Like, how do you get them to come to the table and have that same conversation with the two of you? Because if they'll come sit down and renegotiate, then this can all go away. But if they don't have any incentive whatsoever, then what are we talking about? Now, if Florida State, Clemson, Miami, some of the other teams decide we're going to collectively try to get out, and we'll pay whatever, now maybe ESPN will listen. But other than that, I don't know what this is supposed to do other than, like you said, just waste a lot of money and time. So that as
it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
Yep.
So be that as it may, let's we will transition on. Let's give out some grades. Or better yet, let's confirm some grades. This is kind of an end of the year type situation. And what I did with the grades is I just went ahead and put the men and the women together, and just made it a overall program grade. So if we were for the basketball season, the only A+ had to go to North Carolina State. I mean, you both make the Final Four. You both do it in a year that nobody thought you'd do it.
Right.
And you both had a chance to win the game for like a half. So I got to give it up to both coaches in the men and the women's of NC State. They did their thing. So does anybody disagree with a solid A+ for NC State?
I think a Final Four run is an automatic A+.
It's automatic A+. Got to give them an A+. Charlie didn't say anything, so I'm assuming he's in agreement.
Yes, I mean, it's good.
Okay. What about North Carolina? I gave him an A. I mean, the women could have been better.
I'm good with an A. I'm good with an A, even though I didn't believe in him all year. I give him an A.
Yeah, I was giving an A. I was fine with an A.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Would you give him an A, Charlie? You're looking. You got that look in your eye, Charlie. Doesn't feel like you're solidly giving an A. Hey, okay, all right. What about Duke? Duke gets an A.
You got an A- on there. Is it A? Or
I got an A- because I thought the men would have been better, but their regular season was solid. They just weren't the tournament was
okay. Duke, both of them, I didn't really trust them all season. But I can't run from the run they had in the tournament. They both made. Did Duke make the Elite Eight or was it Sweet 16?
I think they made the Sweet. I thought they made the Sweet 16 and the women made the 8.
I think
which is why I got the A-.
I think actually, to be honest with you, the women's run saves them because
that's where I landed.
Because I'd give the men's basketball team down to a B.
Right. But that women's run was like solid. That was kind of out of nowhere. Speaking of B's, Clemson, solid B+.
I go B.
Men's and women's, or just
men and women's? Men and women's. Women weren't good.
I would put them as a B.
I'm with Charlie.
You downgrade to a B? Okay, all right, that's fair. Notre Dame. The women for sure saved Notre Dame.
The women. Yeah, but the
definitely had to save them.
Yeah. But given the situation with the men, with the new coach and the way they played this year, I think they had a solid season for a first-year coach when they had zero expectations coming into the season. But the women carried it though.
and I wanted to give the women some love because I think they rattled the freshmen with the whole ear in the nose thing. I mean, rearing in the nose thing. And had she had not had to deal with that, I think they would have played better. So I'm trying to give her a little. I cannot wait to see her and Olivia Miles next year. I am so looking forward to that pairing.
Yeah,
man.
Virginia
Tech,
but the men, they had two dynamic freshmen on campus.
They did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The freshman point guard for the men and then Hidalgo.
Yeah.
Burke and Hidalgo.
Yeah.
So they got.
I think Notre Dame's on the upswing for sure.
Oh yeah.
What about Virginia Tech? That gave them a solid B. Because of the women, mostly because of the women.
The women, yeah.
Yeah. Would have been interesting to see how they finished the season had Kitley stayed healthy.
Right. I think they were a Final Four team at Kitley stay healthy.
Possibly.
He's already he's making moves at Kentucky already. He's hit the ground running.
Well, he's got Georgia coming. Georgia
A&M coming. Yeah, he's made some nice moves already.
Has Kitley used her COVID year? Is she following him?
Nah, she's done, I think.
Can she play in the WNBA?
ACL. So
yeah, she's a WNBA player.
Not next year.
Not next year, right? Right.
I think she gets drafted.
Rehabbing.
Yeah, she'll be rehabbing, but I think she'll get drafted though.
Second round though.
Yeah,
because you'll have to sit her out. What about Syracuse? Only because the men made a solid run late. That's the only reason I gave them the B-. That's the only reason.
Because they made the playoffs.
I'm sorry, not the men. The women.
I was going to say the women and the men didn't make the tournament.
The women made a solid run late. That's the only reason I gave them the B.
I'm grading them like I'm kind of grading Notre Dame on a curve because they had a new coach. And the men. And so I'm good with the B-.
I thought Red had a good year.
Yeah.
For the men, for his first year, and the women, I thought they maxed out.
Yep.
Their run or their ability as a team.
That's a great word for what they did.
So
they maxed out. What about your Seminoles?
Are you doing it just because of women?
No, it's everybody. I said a B-.
All y'all.
I said
everybody.
Yeah, I said a B-. Because the men saved their season.
Yeah, the women
in a sense
say the men if you give them doing a B-.
Yeah.
Well, from where it started to where it ended, I thought it was okay.
Nah, they got blown out by U of L at the Yum Center.
They did.
You know, the women are carrying this category, and I still think it's probably going to be about a C+.
C+? Okay. We're talking about. I'm not. That B- is probably an 80. So
I'm giving it a 78.
Fair enough. I'm gonna be honest with you. I struggled with this one because the men's was a disaster,
and the women had a disappointing season for them, and
the women had a disappointing season for them.
I might have to go C-.
I was thinking C-,
and that might be being nice.
I was thinking C- initially, and to be honest with you, my initial grade was actually a D.
I think I might be good with that.
My initial grade was a D, but I was like, well, they did make it though, but the one thing they never solved the who's our go-to player problem.
They more of a thing about it, they've got to be a D. I mean, it's a first round exit. First time in the history. First time under Jeff Walls they've gone out in the first round.
You might be right.
And the disaster that was the man. That's got to be a D. Charlie's nicer than us, though.
Charlie said C-. I wouldn't be. I initially had given him a D. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd given him a D.
Hey, they can use it as motivation.
There you go.
Yes.
All right, fair enough. Wake Forest. The men probably saved them because the women were awful.
Yeah,
they were awful,
and the men were so inconsistent. Wake Forest,
right?
They were so inconsistent.
But they did finish well above 500. They did finish with 20 plus wins. They were over 500 in the conference. So
I give them a C, even though I think the men underachieved because they had so much talent and they could shoot the ball in so many positions, but like they were so inconsistent. But I'll give them a C.
All right. Charlie, you okay with the C? Yeah. Yes. Okay. What about Pitt? I had them at a C minus. I feel like I was being extremely generous here.
Yes.
Because the women were terrible.
Yes.
I thought the men had a good year.
They did. The men is what saved them. That's the only reason they're at a C minus. Because the women were awful. They were 8-24, and they were everybody's homecoming game. So, women? Yeah, the women were terrible. They were just absolutely terrible. They were at the bottom of the conference. They only won 2 conference games.
Yeah, I'm good with a C minus, and yeah, the men saved them. Even though I think the men kind of underachieved too.
Is he in trouble?
Mm-mm.
No, because the expectations aren't that high anyway.
And he hasn't brought it back to Jamie Dixon levels, but I think Capel's done a pretty good job. And he was one that I didn't have much confidence in that hire, but I think he's outperformed. I think he's done pretty well there.
He's done okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You talking about Capel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they had a good year this year. They're bringing in talent still, and I think they beat some quality teams this year.
Pitt is one of those programs that's going to be in every 3 years, every 4 years. We got the guys to stay, and we'll probably be decent then.
I think he's going to get them there where they can be more consistent. Like I said, when they first hired him, I wasn't all that over the top about it because I was like, he didn't do all that great at Oklahoma, but he's you could tell he's learned and he's perfecting his craft. I think he's going to turn out to be a really good coach at Pittsburgh.
All right. Miami.
I think he's going to get that thing consistent.
Okay. Miami, solid C. I might be being generous here only because the women were
yeah, they U of L level.
Yeah. The men were
They're
terrible.
U of L level.
The men were terrible. They were awful.
Right.
And
they coming off a Final Four run with most of that roster intact. That's a D right there. That's a D right there.
You think it's a solid D? I'm okay with a D there. I'm not married to that C minus.
What says you, Coach Junior? He's always going to be nicer than us, though. I think he lost us.
Did you lose us? Okay, I don't know if you can hear us.
Keep breaking up.
Okay.
Miami's great.
Miami, being generous, C minus, because women or men weren't stellar. So
The women saved it.
That would be generous.
I'd say it's probably more of a D, but I'm not married to either one of those C minuses. So, and then Virginia is the same. I'm not married to the men saved them because Virginia finished. Technically, they finished third in the conference.
Who, Virginia?
Yeah.
That was by default.
Right, by default, exactly.
What's that letter say?
What was that?
I can't argue with that as much as I want to.
What's that letter right there?
I see a solid D on your shirt there. I see a solid D. Well, then the last three will be easy. Or last two will be easy.
JYD.
The last two will be easy. Then Boston College with a solid D, and Georgia Tech with a solid D. I don't think there's any arguments to be made there. Either one of them.
I think you could say that the ACC was rather top heavy this year.
It was top heavy. It was top heavy. And despite all of that, the ACC as a conference did very well. I mean, it did very well. So, all right, let's look at some final things. The mock drafts are out. A couple of mock drafts are out. One of the drafts is coming up. Is it Monday? The 15th?
WNBA draft. Is it Monday or Tuesday? I think it's Monday.
So who do the women have in who does the ACC have in that draft? Right now, I don't know. Let's take a look at it together, shall we? Let's take a look at it together. There we go. So right now, ESPN is projecting that Caitlin Clark, to the surprise of no one, is going to go first. I take issue with Cameron Brink going second. I really feel like the more solid pick to me is Carmela Cardoso, but I mean, I'm not mad if they take Cameron Brink first, second. But if you're trying to replace Nneka Ogwumike, to me that seems more like a Carmela situation than a Cameron Brink. But what do y'all think about that one?
I could go either way. I think I lean towards Brink myself just because I think she does give you more options offensively. Cardoso,
they got them taking both, so I guess it works. It works out.
Well, if you can get both, then
right, it works out both. So, Rakia Jackson from Tennessee going third. I don't necessarily love Rakia as much as I love the other two, or even Angel Reese for that matter. And I don't remember a standout game for Rakia. And then I wonder
I guess I'm kind of with you on that. I think I may put Angel Reese right there, but I don't know their roster.
I don't either. And the Sky are they're kind of rebuilding because
is Dana Evans still there?
Huh?
Dana Evans still there?
I think Dana's still there, but obviously no Candace, they lost like some really key parts to that championship team that was there a couple of years ago. So they're really rebuilding. And you wonder if Rakia is a true Teresa Witherspoon type player. Because Teresa's got a grit to her. You would think she wants that toughness. That's where I can honestly see Angel Reese fall into that spot. Now, they got Aaliyah Edwards going to the Dallas Wings, which, by the way, if that happens, Dallas Wings might be my pick to sneak into the top of the thing next year, because that puts a solid team around Nneka, not Nneka, what's her name? Agumbawale. Her last name is Agumbawale.
Yeah.
Played Notre Dame. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
From Notre Dame?
Yes. That would put a solid, because her front line would be, you know what the irony of that team would be? They would look like the female version of the Dallas Mavericks. With her being the solid Luka type player, and then a front line like what Dallas has now that can just rebound and putbacks, and I mean, it would be a solid team. And I think Aaliyah Edwards would make a great addition to that. So you got Angel Reese. Daisha Fair is the first ACC player that pops up going into the Connecticut Sun.
She's so underrated. She's so underrated. She's a scorer.
Fan.
She's a serious scorer, and like, you know, and she. I mean, no disrespect to Caitlin Clark, she casts such a shadow over everything else. It's like nothing else received any kind of attention. But Daisha Fair had an amazing season, an amazing career, and I think she's very underrated.
She is a winner, and she is a scorer. And I think as a coming off the bench type guard, she could be problematic. Now it's going to take her a little while to get used to the game, to the talent thing, but I think she'll get there quicker than some of the people on this list. Even the ones being taken at the top of the list, I think she's going to get there. So there you go. I just got to ask you guys before I get to the NFL, what do you think Caitlin Clark's rookie season will look like? Because Diana Taurasi said reality is coming.
Well, it is. I mean, because she's going to get more.
A lot of people keep trying to forecast someone's first year. I mean, how many rookies have come into the WNBA and done well? I mean, like where they are 3 years from now. One of the things she would bring to the table to someone, depending upon, I know she's going to the Indiana Fever more than likely.
Right.
One thing she's going to do, she's going to bring more people to the arena.
Right.
That's one thing.
Already 80% of the Fever's games are on national TV this year.
Exactly. That's what she's going to do.
Right. I'll tell you this. Her play is going to back up, kind of what she, we don't know how she's going to do her rookie year on the court because she's going to be playing against older ladies, and, she doesn't have an off season in a sense because they get
zero off season.
And then they start playing the following week. So there's no off season to get prepared from a strength and conditioning standpoint. So you're going to get what you normally get from rookies that may have to carry their team in some form of fashion.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get inconsistent play. And you're going to get some splashes. That's kind of what normally happens. But as I mentioned, we do know that there will be people in the seats to come watch her.
I'll tell you this, Charlie and Kendrick. I think she's going to be just fine.
She's always going to be.
First of all, she's never played with players that have the talent of the players that she's going to be playing with ever in her entire Iowa career.
Not even close. But by the way, she has Aaliyah Boston on her team.
Then I was gonna say she got a almost perfect pick and roll partner now in Aaliyah Boston,
and she has a backcourt mate with Grace Berger. I mean, I think she's gonna have a pretty good rookie season.
I think it'll be okay. Now, will they win 20, 30 games? Probably not, but they're gonna learn together. And I think in that first year, the lumps that they take will be okay. To me, I think if she can just get a little bit of what Sabrina Ionescu got in her second year, you'll call that a win. Because
for us who've really been watching women's basketball, Sabrina Ionescu was basically Caitlin Clark a couple of years ago.
She was. That's what I'm saying. It's a perfect,
and that's a perfect comp. And I think Sabrina's going to be a little bit better than her initially, But I think her career arc, I think Caitlin's arc is going to be similar to Sabrina Ionescu. They've got very similar games. Sabrina's a little bit sturdier,
right?
But Caitlin's going to have to add some weight. But as far as struggle, yes, she's going to have her struggles. Now, do I think she's going to come in and just dominate the league? No. But I think she's going to have a very, very solid rookie season. Mainly, like you said, like both of y'all said, she's going to have more talent around her than she's ever had. And she's going to have some serious talent around her in Indiana. And so there's plenty to be excited about. I think she's going to have a really good season and probably will be Rookie of the Year.
If she averages 12 to 15 points and maybe 4 or 5 assists a game, to me, that is a phenomenal rookie. To me, she's Rookie of the Year at that point. Because I don't know what other expectation you would have of her. She's not going to score 30 a game. That's not happening. She might sneak up on some weaker teams and get 30.
She'll have a 30-point night.
Yeah, she'll have a few 30-point nights, but they're deliberately going to target her and say, welcome to the WNBA. So we get it. She'll take her lumps. But like
get some hard screens.
Yeah. I heard Kelsey Plum say this, and I thought it was perfect. She said, I was horrible my rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I was horrible. And Pat McAfee was like, but you were Rookie of the Year. She said, yeah. But that's because I was the best of the rookies. not because I was so great. I was just better than all the other rookies. And I think that's where Caitlin Clark will land. She'll be better than most of the rookies, if not all of the rookies, but it'll be balanced out. So I'm with you, Charlie. Let's pump the brakes a little bit and let her matriculate to the league and learn it and figure it out. And then in 3 years, if you want to say she's great or a bust, I'll stall you out on that. But give her some time to get there and get settled.
Right.
None of them are going to be great next year. I don't think anybody in this class, as talented as they are, I don't think any of them are going to be like great coming in. So
yeah, that'd be solid. I think the guards have a better chance of having some success early because the bigs in the WNBA are so good. Yeah. It's not knocking on the guard, but the bigs in the WNBA are insane. And
yeah,
so
they're
And so I think the guards have a little bit better, and it's not even a knock on the guards; it's just how good the bigs are. But
just how good the bigs are, exactly.
I think Caitlin Clark's going to be perfectly fine.
She'll be fine. Yeah. All right. So we will just take a quick look. I apologize because I really didn't want to use Mel Kiper's draft board because I think he's not the greatest. With all due respect to him, I just don't think he's the greatest evaluator of talent. But we'll use his because we couldn't find anybody else this morning. But what made it interesting, he has Drake May going third to the Patriots. Which Drake May, so it's interesting at the top of this board, and we got to go to our resident Heisman Trophy winning quarterback for evaluation here. The three names that keep circling around, or four, is of course Caleb Williams, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, and of course Jaden Daniels. And on any given day, Jaden is number one in some minds. Caleb is number one in some minds, although it appears that Caleb is I guess, for all lack of purpose, or for all purposes,
number one
pick. Caleb's going to go number one. It appears that way. Now, I don't know. Chicago may shock us all, but it appears that Caleb's going number one. If you had a quarterback pick, would you take Drake higher than Caleb or Jaden, Charlie, or is there somebody else you would take in Chicago?
No, I would take Drake May over Caleb or Jaden.
Okay.
And that's purely off of college film and ability. but all of them will have their moments where they will be successful, and some will get on the field sooner than others, depending upon where they land and the team's plan for the quarterback position for the young quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting how they all develop because I mean we're talking about Justin Fields. I mean, you start looking at the quarterbacks that have gone high in the draft. I mean, most of them haven't done as well as what people would expect or
Yeah.
want from them. You may have an outlier here and there, but all the rest of them, have gone to situations and they've fizzled out. You know, take Justin Fields for instance.
Yeah. Who would you
Kyler
guys?
Murray. I mean,
I was gonna say who the two of you, if you were picking number one, because it appears Chicago wants a plug and play guy. Who is the plug and play guy out of this draft, quarterback wise?
I mean, it's the top two.
well, the
You think it's either?
Washington, they're in the same boat, right?
I was gonna say they're in a plug and play situation as well. Is it Jaden
So,
and Caleb and then
I mean,
everybody
you
else?
To me, it is.
Yeah, I mean, you take those two. Take those
I-
two, and I mean, you're gonna put them in a situation.
I feel way more comfortable with Jaden than I do with Caleb. There's just something about Jaden that I like, that I favor as far as competition, than I do with Caleb. Something with Caleb to me just, I don't know. It's one of those gut things. You just say, because one of the comparisons I heard this morning on Get Up, shout out to Get Up, one of the guys said he's got a lot of Kyler Murray in him. And I was like, well, that's not good. That to me, I wouldn't. That's a terrible comparison to me. I don't want that as a franchise quarterback. Like the twitchiness, I wouldn't want any of that. So if I would definitely lean toward Jaden at that point.
I don't know. Without knowing the kids and not being around them, it's hard to say. I do think that Caleb Williams is going to be a little polarizing a little bit just because he just seems to beat by a different drum.
He does.
Yeah, and so I think, yeah, but I didn't like some of the things he does. I don't know how they play in a city like Chicago, but they had Dennis Rodman there, so as long as he comes in there and wins, they're not going to care. And
Right. Work ethic is going to be above everything, but yeah,
right. And so he can come in there and
he's a different.
He's a different dude. He's a different cat, but he can come in there and win. None of that stuff matters.
It don't matter. He can wear what he wants, do what he wants.
Right.
You know, I just the second ACC player off the board is on Mel Kiper's board is Graham Barton from Duke, the center fluctuates between the two, and then Jared Verse at 21 going to the Dolphins, which would be a massive steal on their capacity, and would fill a need because with Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips being out, they need an edge rusher, and Jared might be the perfect.
And they lost Wishbacallet from Clemson to the Raiders.
Oh, that's right. They lost. Yeah, that's exactly right. I forgot about that. So that's a super need for them. They may jump up and try to go get Jared early to make sure that they get him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he's rated the number one DN. I believe he's the number one DN on Mel Kiper's draft board, which I think he is the number one DN. I've not hidden my love for Jared Verse all season long. I love the kid. I think he's amazing. Would you guys co-sign that, or would you take him that high? Or
yeah, I would, and I can see moving up to get him.
Of course.
Yeah, I think he's amazing. And then other than that, there's no other ACC player that Mel Kiper has in the first round. This first round is going to be very, very interesting, though. The quarterbacks at the top, I'm just curious to see how that's all going to play out. Because Drake May to me is fascinating. I didn't know he didn't play his senior year in high school. Did you know that?
That he what?
No, I did.
He did not play his senior year in high school. So what you saw
I didn't realize that either.
in college is what you got. So he's probably the most not ready quarterback we've seen in quite some time. Like,
it was the last, not the last QB, but it was one of the QBs from North Carolina that had a very similar makeup. Trubisky, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Trubisky, where he didn't have a lot of starts under his belt, and he got chosen, high in the draft, and he didn't pan out as well. But hopefully Drake will be different. His
I hope so
talent's
too.
A little different.
I hope so too, but if he's going to New England, well, New England's gonna want plug and play. I don't know if he's plug and play, especially in
New England is. I don't know if they're ready for plug and play.
I don't think
they're
they
going to
do.
be going through some challenges,
right?
As far as their season is concerned. So if their plug and play is just to get reps at that position, because the expectation is not to win right now.
Right.
And so it would be to help build for the future.
Charlie, did you think they would be better off if they do draft a high quarterback like Drake May or whatever, getting a veteran to start the season?
I think so.
And let him sit behind him for New England.
I mean, that's all. Yeah. I mean, I think that's good for all of them. I mean, you look at Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Yeah. You look
Aaron
at
Rodgers.
Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, all the ones that have, that were high in those areas, draft
Lamar.
Picks, when they had Lamar, whenever they have a chance to sit and watch for, even if it's half a season,
mm-hmm.
or one season, you look at Jordan Love. I mean, he's benefited from being able to sit and watch for those years.
He looks outstanding.
I just think it's very helpful.
Yeah,
I think it's very helpful for them. People say, well, experience on the field. Yeah, I mean, but some of that's good. But I mean, we all have, what they call it, PSD? No,
PTSD. Yeah.
So I mean, all that plays a big factor, because that stuff you can't unlearn. Once you experience all of that, and sometimes it's good, early on, but sometimes it's not.
You know why I agree 100%. You know why I agree 100%, Charlie? Because I think about people like Bryce Young. Bryce Young spent his entire first season on his back, just fighting for his life. There was a terrible offensive line. So now, I think they've tried to fix some of that in this offseason, but the memories still remain. So you wonder how quickly can he get past what he's experienced to have to transition upwards in his career. That's not a small thing when you're getting sacked as much as he got sacked last year. And so I agree with you 100%. I think there's nothing wrong with waiting. What's wrong with waiting and getting some time to figure it out and to learn and to grow? Nothing wrong with it, man. There's nothing.
I'll tell you why.
Because they're at the top of the list right now. They're benefiting from waiting.
I'll tell you why. Because people see the outlier and think that's supposed to be the rule. They see what CJ Stroud did as a rookie, and they think that's supposed to be the rule. That's not the case for every single quarterback. And CJ Stroud also had a very advantageous situation when he got there. He has had two receivers of all world that people didn't see coming, but those two receivers were fantastic too. I mean, not taking anything from CJ, but those receivers are amazing.
Not to mention the fact that he had a schedule that was perfect for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, he plays in the AFC South.
Right, exactly. So that helped tremendously. No, real talk.
And it's not a knock on him because it helped him build his confidence to when they did go up against the better teams in the league. That he already had built his confidence. We're going to see. We'll learn more about them this year. Their schedule is very much more difficult this year. Yeah, they have a first place schedule this year, so we'll learn. But I've got all the confidence in the world in that team.
I think it'll be fine.
I think that team is coming and going to be good for a very long time.
I agree. We just hope Stephon Diggs don't mess it up.
I'm worried about that, Charlie. I am worried about that.
That was the first thing I thought about, Charlie. When they made the trade, I was like, I get it, but you don't want to grow too fast. Let's just like,
right.
I get it, but you don't want to grow too fast. Just
I get it on paper. On
paper, it makes sense, and he's already said he's not going to resign.
Yeah, he's already not resigning.
so why are you? What is? I don't understand.
I wonder if that though it may. Because I'm like, I don't know. Because I wonder how much of playing with his brother plays into this stuff too. In Dallas, because they've hinted at wanting to play together, but I don't know.
Yeah, but that don't mean it's going to be in Dallas.
Well, this is true too.
Could be somewhere
I
else.
don't know what Dallas is doing. Besides nothing.
But all right, well, listen, that's our show. Let's get some shout outs. Who would you guys like to shout out today? Huh?
I got one shout out. Shout out to the FSU Seminoles baseball team for smacking the University of Florida Gators the other night.
Was it a smacking? Was it a smacking, Charlie?
Whatever you want to call it. It was 19-4. You can.
That's a smacking.
That's smacking.
Whatever you want.
That is a smacking.
And we won the we're 3-0 against the Gators this year.
You seem very pleased with that, Charlie. I'm not gonna hold you. You seem very pleased. Kendrick, who you shouting out, brothers?
I'm gonna give a shout out. You know what? I'm gonna hold that one in because I don't know if that even though Granddad already tweeted it out, but former car Quentin Snyder has got a set of twins on the way. They're in the hospital in labor now. So shout out to Quentin Snyder.
Shout out to Quentin, increasing the world by 2.
Yeah, increasing the pretty hair population by 2.
Pretty hair population.
pretty
Ricky
Fontaine
has some good hair.
Shout out to Q. Q's always been one of the nicest kids. I've covered Q since he was a freshman in high school. He was about that big around. He was at Fern Creek originally.
That's right.
Yeah,
Did he come
broke.
over with Chris?
Yeah. He broke Charlie's good friend Al's scoring record.
He did. He did.
And so he had a pretty good career at U of L, and he's playing overseas. He suffered a gruesome knee injury. Just recovered back from that. He just got back to playing, and now he's about to be a dad. So shout out to Q.
About to be a papa. All right, shout out to you. I want to give a very special shout out to Raven Johnson of LSU. I'm gonna tell you something. Her story
LSU
and her journey is fascinating to me because this time last year, we watched her essentially get embarrassed by Caitlin Clark. And in the spirit of competition, I don't think there was malice involved, but still, when a player is waving you off and saying you can't shoot and I'll turn her back to her and that kind of stuff, it was a little embarrassing to say the least. And then to come back the next year and essentially lock the best player in college basketball up like she didn't have a game at all was impressive. That was impressive. I have to give her credit.
And took her cookies right before halftime.
Took her cookies in open court 4 times. Like it was like, you can't score on me. I'm not letting you score today. That was impressive. I got to give it up. So that's the kind of redemption story that I think every coach hopes for. Like, take that as fuel and let it be what moves you to the next year. And she did that and led a team that nobody in the beginning of the year thought would win the national championship to an undefeated season. That's impressive. So shout out to Raven Johnson. I got to
shout out to Don Staley.
Don's first rate. Don is. If I was University of Kentucky, I'd be trying to get Don Staley. That's what that would be my first choice.
You're not the only person that said that.
He's amazing.
Yeah, you're not the only person that said that.
She's amazing. She gets every part of what college sports is supposed to be, from mentorship to player development to growth to all of it. She gets the whole thing. And it's not lost on me that she's unapologetic about who she is as a person. I love that. So I love Don. I'm a Don person. Sean, I think you are. I thought I saw you say you were a Don person as well.
Yes. She's the bomb.
Shout out to Charlie for using 90s references. All right. Well, that's it, guys. That's all we got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. Looked like Twitter enjoyed it tremendously because they stuck with us for a while, so we appreciate that. We'll be back next week.
Shout out to all the people tracking flights in Lexington.
Tracking flights?
Yes.
From Texas to Lexington?
Well, now they have a flight from Lexington to New York.
Okay.
It's their biggest donor. It's their largest donor. Flight is landing in LaGuardia because, rich people never go to New York. It's so insane.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Please let it
end.
An
announcement will happen soon. Who that new coach will be, we'll find out.
Let this end.
We will see. We shall see. We shall see. So, all right, people. Have a great Thursday. We will see you next week. Peace. You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard.